Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Boundary. My name's Josh. I've got my partner Nick with me again this week. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad at all, Josh. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thanks, buddy. I've had a pretty good week. I really enjoyed watching the Ashes this week. Unfortunately, the boys couldn't get over the line, but the rain got the better of us, and maybe a few DRS decisions as well, which we might hear about a little bit later on. How was your week, mate?
Yeah, it was a great week, and a great week of footy. We had lots of upsets, which are always exciting to watch, and some great finishes to a couple of important games, which
Yeah. How did you go in your tipping, mate? And before you let me know, please don't ask in return.
6 out of 9 this week, and considering the kind of round it was, I was really happy with that. Still just one ahead in the tipping leaderboard, so I've got to keep that form up the rest of the season. I'm sure everyone wants to know. How about yourself?
Do we have to?
We do.
I only got the four last week. I
Oh
had
no.
I had a shocking week, and when I was 0 for 3, I knew it wasn't going to get much better. Tipping Geelong, Melbourne, and the Hawks, which I thought at the start of the week I had a pretty good chance of being 3-3, but unfortunately it wasn't the case. What surprised you in round 19, mate?
A couple of things surprised me actually. Richmond's win over the Hawks was obviously very impressive. It wasn't impossible for them to get up, but I certainly didn't expect them to win by that much. And GWS, they had a very impressive performance against Melbourne. I did tip them to win, but I didn't think they'd do it quite so comfortably in the end. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah, I was really surprised by the showdown. I actually tipped Port Adelaide to probably win by a good 3-4 goals, but Adelaide just kept pressing and pressing, and I think showdowns show, and derbies especially as well, throw West Coast and Fremantle in there too, that no matter where these sides are on the ladder, it's always going to be a terrific contest. And Angus Monfries, I reckon he might be able to get a spot in the Australian cricket side with that massive off spinner that he bowled.
Surprised the goal umpire with that one, didn't he?
He certainly did. He caught him off track, and I just really love the work of Chad Wingard lately. Well, all season really. He's certainly going to be in all Australian contention come the end of the season.
And moving on to everyone's least favourite topic. I know it's our least favourite topic anyway. Essendon's Asada interim report this week.
Yeah, it's it's frustrating really because, as I said last week, this has just been going on for too long, and as we sit here at 10:30 on a Wednesday night, um, there's reports that James Hird will stand down tomorrow. So it's it's certainly starting to become really taxing on the club. Last week there was innuendo and stuff from the media that turned out to be true. There was the Dean Robinson interview, and even Bomber Thompson on Monday night on AFL 360, he said that team meetings were sacrificed to deal with the off-field issues, and it played a big part in the massive loss on Sunday to Collingwood. And don't take anything away from Collingwood; they were fantastic and back to their best. But it certainly, you could see that the Bombers were flat on Sunday night. They had no motivation or anything, and it took a lucky free kick really to get the Bombers' first goal. And sitting up in the stands with my old man, and I just said to him midway through the second quarter, I just can't see where our goal's coming from because we're not having a crack. We look flat. We look run down. So it's time to end this investigation, whether Essendon's guilty or not, which it's most likely going to be. That they're guilty. It needs to end. Now moving on to Geelong's Tom Hawkins. He had a terrific year last year, but has clearly been struggling with a back injury this season. Interesting stat, thanks to Josh Kay from Channel 7. He's yet to lay a pressure act or a tackle in the last month of footy. And with Josh Walker, Podsy Adley and Shane Kirsten even putting their hand up in the VFL and coming back from suspension, it might be time to rest the big fella. Nick, what are your thoughts?
Well, a lot of people are saying that, but me personally, I don't actually agree. Chris Scott has been saying all season long that it's an injury that won't get better if he's rested. And I know that sounds funny, but from Tom Hawkins himself, he says that if he rests it for a couple of weeks, over the bye and when he doesn't play, that's when it really flares up. So keeping him moving, keeping on playing is the best thing for it. And Jimmy Bartell and Cameron Mooney both came out in his defence this week, and I'm well and truly behind what they had to say. He's kicked 44 goals for the year. He's marking well. His accuracy is sky high. And on top of that, he always takes the best defender. There's not much more you can be asking from him.
Yeah, he's obviously a fantastic talent and broke onto the scene probably 2011 finals, I
That's
think
right.
it was. Had a terrific 2012. Was he named All Australian? I can't.
All Australian full forward 2012.
Yeah, so he's definitely got the talent, and he's just struggling with that injury. And I've always said if you're out in the ground, you're deemed 100% fit, but he's clearly not. So it'll be interesting to see what they do come tomorrow, and we'll discuss that later in the podcast.
And it is a very big call to make at the moment, especially because Shane Kirsten, I think he's kicked 11 goals in the last 2 weeks, and Josh Walker has kicked 8 goals in the last 2 weeks. So they're in massive form, and they're really knocking on the door for his spot.
Now we're going to be looking at some of the older players in the competition, and there's been plenty of news around Jonathan Brown this week with his likely season-ending injury, and where his career is at, and he's certainly contemplating retirement at the end of this year, and it'll be a great shame for him to finish on that note.
Yeah, I was listening to the boys on Footy Classified talk about it on Monday night. It was, and they think he can be, and I agree with them, a great sort of mentor for the Brisbane Lions going forward. There's no one there to sort of take his position at the moment, so it's not like he's holding anyone out of the side. But can he go on next season?
Depends how serious this foot injury is. It certainly is serious, but the severity of it is what is the word I was trying to look for. So it really depends on that severity of how big that injury is to him and how he can recover. Can he get back for day one of pre-season? How much of the pre-season is he going to miss? Is he going to have an impact in 2014? He's a terrific footballer and highly regarded as the best centre half forward behind Wayne Carey of all time. So
And there's plenty of other players in the same position in the competition at the moment.
oh,
I know.
yeah, absolutely. Dustin Fletcher's one of them. He's equaling Simon Madden's club record this week against West Coast with 378. But I've noticed just this last couple of probably last month or so, the game's catching up with him, and that's no surprise for a 38-year-old playing at the speed that this game is being played at the moment. And there's plenty of other footballers in the AFL that are in the same boat. And I know, Nick, there's a few down at Geelong that you want to touch on as well.
Yeah, there certainly are. Paul Chapman, he was one of the best players in the competition in his prime. Joel Corey and Josh Hunt are the other two. Touch and go at the end of the season. All three of them have had injury troubles, and I believe all three are free agents. So a lot of them, all three of them, even could retire or move on at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, there's Simon Black and there's Heath Scotland at Carlton as well. But the good thing is that players like Ben Rutten and Darren Glass, they're going around again. When there was speculation that they would end their careers at the end of the year, they signed 1 year deals during the week. So who knows? We may be wrong, and all these players might play on another year. But the game is certainly catching up for some of them. And now we're moving on to our favourite segment. It's the toast and roast. Nick, let's kick it off, mate. What do you got for us?
Well, my toast this week is the GWS Giants. I saw a story earlier before the game last week. Neither team wanted to be favourites. Neither team sort of felt they were deserved of the favouritism in that match. I was really impressed with GWS coming out, taking that game by the scruff of the neck, and getting that much needed first win of the season. How about your toast this week?
I just had a last minute change. I was going to give it to Tommy Rockcliffe, but I'm going to give it to the Tigers. They were scary good against the Hawks last week. They took it up to them, and the Hawks took the lead into half time, and they fought, and the rain came, and they just ran all over them. And I'm absolutely wrapped for the Tigers. Many people think I hate them. I don't know why, but I just think it's great that for footy that they're going to be playing finals footy again, and I honestly so excited for one player in particular, in Chris Newman. He deserves to play in a final, whether they lose by 100 points or win by 1 point. He deserves to play in a final. Nick, what's your roast, mate?
My roast this week is going to my fellow Geelong supporters, actually.
Oh, here we go.
I passed on the news during the week on my Geelong page that Daniel Menzel had successfully completed his second round of surgery to repair the knee he re-injured earlier in the year. And I was met with remarks such as we need to stop wasting time on him. He'll never come good, stuff like that, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Menzel's an absolute superstar. There's no reason why I can't get back to his best, and I have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that we'll see him back on the park and at his best in 2014.
Yeah, I have to agree there, mate. I think that's pretty poor from your fellow Geelong supporters. I think he's a young, obviously still very young. He's only 21, 22, and he's got plenty of footy ahead of him. And David Schwartz, I remember, had three knee recos himself, and he turned out to be a pretty good player. So you just got to put the time in, be patient, and one day he'll come fit. He'll play his first game, and it'll be like he never had those reconstructions again. My roast, Kumar Damasena. I'm looking at you, buddy.
You might need
How
to tell a couple of people who he is.
he's the umpire in the cricket. He was the third umpire in the third test, and the man behind the DRS. Now we might have some vision for you here of Kawaj's dismissal, but Kumar, seriously, mate, you cannot seriously give that out. He has missed it by half a foot. You could drive a truck through there.
Even
He
Kevin
has
Rudd
missed.
had something to say on it.
He did. Even Kevin Rudd had something to say about it. It was picked up by the commentators. How Kumar Dharmasena got that decision wrong after watching it time and time again on the replay is absolutely farcical. It's farcical. You cannot. It cannot happen. The DRS system works very well when Muppets aren't running it. And Kumar Dharmasena is a Muppet.
I certainly hope we don't see him operating the decision review system at MCG anytime this year.
I think he was there at Etihad Stadium on Friday night when I think it was Nathan Vardy hit the post.
I have to admit, I was sitting right below that one, and that definitely hit the post.
Kumar, get it right. Get some glasses, son. Let's move on. Our NAB Rising Star for round 19 is GWS Giants young defender Zach Williams. He's a running defender. He set up a lot of the play in the club's first win for the season against the Demons. Nick, what were his stats, please, mate?
21 touches, 7 of which were contested, 5 marks, 3 tackles, and he was going at 90.5 disposal efficiency, which is crazy good.
Yeah, it is. It is very, very good. To go at 90.5 for a young kid, and I know you play in Melbourne and you got all the space in the world at the moment, but he certainly took advantage of it, and certainly a worthy nomination. He's the third Rising Star nomination from the GWS Giants this year, joining Lockie Whitfield and Adam Tomlinson. So they're certainly building towards a 2014 campaign where we can only hope that they'll improve like the Gold Coast Suns have in their third year. So if he can continue his form, he's looking good for a spot in 2014. Our first game this week in round 20 is the Saints versus the Hawks. It's going to be a ripping contest. For St Kilda, in comes Jack Nunes, James Gwilt, Brodie Murdoch, Jason Blake, and for his first game, Darren Mitchington. And out goes Aaron Sipos with a shoulder, Tom Simpkin with a leg, Sam Donnell's been omitted, Reece Stanley with a shoulder, and Ahmed Saab with a leg injury as well.
And for the Hawks, in comes Simpkins, Spanger and Grimley. Out goes Luke Hodge with a thumb injury, who's a big loss. Lance Franklin with hamstring soreness, who's also a big loss. And Selgar.
Yeah, it's going to be a interesting game, this one. It's Hawthorn coming off a loss against the Tigers. They're going to be out for redemption, I feel. They're going to come out and try and play some of their best footy. I can't see how the Saints are going to stick with them, Nick. It's not looking good for the Saints.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Hawthorn will just be far too strong in this one. St Kilda got towed up by my boys, the Cats, the other week, and I think this one might be pretty similar game to that one, to be honest.
Yeah, the Hawks have won 12 of their last 13 without Franklin in their side and have averaged a bigger score without him. So you think being the number one ranked side in the competition for marks inside 50, the likes of Roughhead, Jack Gunston, who plays his 50th game this week, and you throw the Ruckman down there as well. I cannot see St Kilda's defence, as depleted as it already is, uh, getting even close to the Hawks in this game.
There's not too much more you can say about it, Josh. Who are you tipping?
I'm tipping the Hawks quite comfortably, mate, by about 83 points. It's just going to be a very, very difficult game for the Saints. Their defence is depleted enough. Reece Stanley, Sam Fisher out, and young kids coming into the side like Mitchington. It's going to be a great opportunity for them to play against their best, and they'll learn a heap off this game. And I just think the Hawks might get up by about 83 points. Who are you tipping, mate?
Yeah, I'm with you there. Hawthorn by 80 points for me. It's one of those ones that's hard to put a number on it, but Hawthorn definitely quite comfortably in this one.
Our next game is the Mighty Tigers versus Brisbane at the MCG. For Richmond, in comes Ty Vickery and out goes Oren Stevenson, who's been omitted.
And for the Lions, in comes Brett Maloney, Martin and Lester. Out goes Jonathan Brown with a foot injury which could end his season. Berwick and Mitch Golby with suspension. Daniel Merritt plays his 150th game, so good luck to him.
Nick, the Tigers have arrived. They're going to be playing finals. They need to win this game to assert themselves and take some real confidence into the final month of footy. I just feel that they're about to explode. The lid came off last week.
The lid is absolutely off, Josh.
It was found on Mars. The lid is well and truly off. And for Brisbane, I just think the loss of Jonathan Brown is going to be bad enough when he eventually retires, let alone when he's injured. They've got. I'm very surprised to not see Jordan Lyle's name there. I thought he would have been a perfect replacement for Jonathan Brown coming into this game. He's a big, tall forward that I think needs to get more development into him as Brown is nearing the end of his career.
Maloney comes in for the Lions. He's been great for them this year.
He has, yeah. He's taken his opportunity at his third club in the Brisbane Lions, and he's just had a few injury worries the last second half of the year, and it'll be good for him to come back into the side, strengthen that Brisbane midfield, and certainly Brisbane's midfield is going to have a tough day ahead of him, going up against the likes of Koch, Martin, Delidio, Nathan Foley, Shane Tuck, Reece Conker. As we say, that Richmond midfield just gets deeper and deeper with each game that they play, and they're an exciting team to watch.
And I imagine you'll be tipping the Tigers this week?
Quite comfortably, mate. Yeah, I think Tigers will be far too strong. They'll want to, as I said, assert themselves in the top 8, guarantee them a spot, and even pushing for a top 4 spot, which isn't out of the question yet. Very unlikely, but it's definitely not out of the question. And I think Richmond might win close to 10 goals. I'm going 52 points. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same there. Richmond just far too good against the Lions, especially in Melbourne, and the kind of home support they got last week, and they'll get the same this week. Richmond by 65 points. The next game of the round is Geelong vs Port Adelaide on Saturday afternoon at Simmons Stadium. In for the Cats comes James Podsiadly, Jared Rivers, Alan Christensen, Jesse Stringer and Josh Walker for his first game of the season. Out goes Josh Hunt, Trent West, Taylor Hunt, Billy Smeds and Mark Blitzars. Look at those ins and outs.
All of them omitted, Nick. I'm very shocked to see that, but
the axe has been swung.
It has. For Port Adelaide, in comes Nathan Blee and out goes Paul Stewart with a broken wrist. How are you feeling about this one, Nick?
Well, I'm quite confident we'll get up, but I'm a bit concerned about how many changes we've made this week. We've spoken in the past about how it sort of unsettles the side to change it that drastically, and has me a little worried.
Yeah, Port Adelaide have shown this year that they can't be a team taken lightly. A number of times this season, they've managed to claw their way back into games and pinch them at the very end. And I mean, certainly going down to Geelong is no easy feat. You've won how many down there? 40 out of the last 41, I think it is. So
it's 39 out of the last 40, and Port Adelaide were the last team to beat us before that streak began.
Well, there you go. So That was in 2007, I believe.
Round 22, 2007, I remember it well.
There you go. Dom Cassisi kicked the winning goal. Um, yeah, I think I still think Geelong will get the job done, but I think it'll be a lot closer than many are suggesting. Some people, despite Port Adelaide's season, are still writing them off and saying they're no good. And this Port Adelaide midfield is developing very nicely, led by Travis Boak, Brad Ebert. Kane Cordens just keeps getting better and better with age. Hamish Hartlett, and then that guy we spoke about earlier, Chad Wingard, only in his second year, and he's almost a shoe-in for All Australian. It's going to be an interesting game, this one, Nick, but I think the Cats can get over the line. Who are you tipping, mate?
I'm tipping the Cats, and you might be a little surprised about the margin I'm tipping them by, actually. 74 points this week.
Ooh.
Very disappointing performance last week against North Melbourne. Chris Scott will not sweep that one under the rug, as he likes to say. He would have absolutely belted them this week, and they're going to win very comfortably.
Gee, 74 points. Yeah, I'm not going that extravagant, but I still think the Cats will do it quite comfortably. I wouldn't be surprised if Port Adelaide are in the game at halftime, but I just think Geelong might power away as the second half comes along. They obviously play that ground very well. It's where they train. It's where they've been so successful over the years, and I just think Geelong might get up by about. Our next game is the Saturday afternoon twilight game between Carlton and the Western Bulldogs. It's going to be a ripping contest, this one. For Carlton, in comes Jared Waite. Finally, he's got over that injury. He's ready to go. He might be the X factor in this game. Who knows? Robbie Warnock gets another go, as does Josh Bootsma and Troy Menzel. Out for Carlton goes the big man Matthew Cruiser. He's been fantastic the last couple of months. He's going to be a big loss. Andrew Carrazzo with a calf. And surprisingly, Mitch Robinson omitted from the side, as well as Kane Lucas. Bryce Gibbs plays his 150th, and Dennis Armfield plays his 100th game. Congratulations to those two.
And for the Western Bulldogs, who are in great form at the moment, in comes Austin, Liam Jones and Easton Wood. Out goes Talia with soreness, Lockie Hunter who's been rested, and McRae also with soreness.
Now, Nick, I watched the game between Carlton and Fremantle last week, and Carlton were really, really into it up until three-quarter time, and their last quarter, I must say, was utterly disgraceful. Utterly disgraceful. For a team playing for a potential finals position, their efforts in the last quarter were non-existent, and we might just have a bit of footage here that will roll. You can see Stephen Hill running with the ball, kicking it long inside 50. The margin's only 20 points, still within reach. 10 minutes to go in the quarter. And Brock McLean and Matthew Watson, their efforts right there are just not, as I said, non-existent and just not. What's the word I'm looking for, Nick? Not acceptable.
Just not giving their all there.
No, they're not. And, for a team playing for a final spot, 20 points down, 10 minutes to go, the game's still in the balance. You need to put that pressure on at all times, and they're only 2-3 metres away there, and to not be putting any pressure, standing flat-footed, I can guarantee you right now that Mick Malthouse wouldn't have missed that one and would have ripped them a new backside.
On a more positive note, the Western Bulldogs have been very, very good of late.
Yeah, they have. They're the second-ranked contested possession side in the competition, and their last month has been absolutely super. They took it right up to the Sydney Swans last week, and a big last quarter from the Swans probably blew the margin out a bit. Not what the Bulldogs were rewarded with. I thought the game should have been a lot closer than what it was. They were very good against Essendon and Hawthorn, and beat the West Coast Eagles as well. So their results of the last month don't show how good the Bulldogs have been. And I really like what they're doing and what Brendan McCartney's doing with this club.
There's an interesting stat here about the Blues in games they've won this season. Basically, if they win the contested possession count, they win the game, and if they lose the contested possession count, they lose the game. I think it's 9-0 contested possessions in games they've won, and 2-7 in games they've lost. So, a pretty damning stat there.
Absolutely, and coming up against the Western Bulldogs, who are second in the competition in that area, you can't help but think that an upset might be on the cards in this game.
And it's probably going to be one of the best games of the round. Western Bulldogs have been great of late. Carlton will obviously be disappointed with last week, and it's really their last shot at trying to creep back into the eighth. So it should be a great contest.
Absolutely. Who are you tipping, mate?
I'm actually going with the Blues, but with not much confidence. I think the Western Bulldogs will really take it up to them, but somehow I think the Blues, sorry, will just find a way to win. Carlton by 10 points.
Yeah, I've got a very big gut feeling. That's not saying I've got a big gut. I've actually lost weight, so I'm happy with that. Uh, I've got a very big gut feeling that the doggies might get this one. The X factor is Jared Waite. If the doggies can keep Jared Waite quiet, I think that they might get over the line. The weakness of the dogs is their defence. So if they can galvanise each other, stop the impact that Jared Waite, Eddie Betts has on the scoreboard, then they're every chance to win this game. And I'm going with them. I'm going with them by 1 point. So not with much confidence, but I'm backing them in for a win. Our next game is arguably the biggest game of the round. It's the Sydney Swans versus Collingwood. In for Sydney comes Ben McGlynn after that 3-game suspension, and unluckily, Jed Lamb goes out, who's been omitted. Congratulations goes to Ted Richards playing his 200th game. Former Bomber, he's been fantastic. He's a premiership player now at the Swans and looks a lot like Nemanja Vidic from Manchester United. He's a terrific football and certainly taken that opportunity that's come his way from the Sydney Swans.
And for the Magpies, they must have been very happy with their result last week because there is no change. Tyson Goldsack plays his 100th game. Good luck to him.
I'm not kidding about that. We might have a picture just put up on the screen here. Nemanja Vidic and Ted Richards are dead ringers. So, moving on to the game, I was obviously at the game last Sunday night against Collingwood, and that was their best performance I've seen for quite a long time. It was the Collingwood of 2010, that ferocity, that pressure, that tackling. They were very, very scary. If they can bring that to Sydney, they have every chance of winning this game. If they can bring it into September, I'm telling you, look out, because there's nothing more frightening than a Collingwood side with their midfield and their pressure, frontal pressure, and ferocity at the ball. They're going to be very hard to beat.
And we discussed this in last week's podcast, actually. I think we were right on the money. You know, Collingwood, they really felt like they were just 1 or 2 weeks away from breaking out and finding that form that we know they're capable of. And as you said, you know, they're going to be a brilliant force come finals if they can keep that pressure up.
Why did it have to be against Essendon? Couldn't they wait for this week? Nah, the Sydney Swans last week, they were very good as well. They were challenged time and time again by the Western Bulldogs and just kept knocking them back, and that's what a champion side does. And Kurt Tippett kicking a big bag of goals for the first time in a Swans jumper, and if he can continually do that for the rest of the year, then there's also no reason why the Swans can't go back to back. They're a terrific unit. John Longmire has arguably inherited a very good list from Paul Roos, but he's still managed to coach them very well. And with that list, you still got to be able to coach well, and he's certainly done that.
Who are you tipping this week?
Collingwood have a very, very good record at ANZ Stadium. The last time these two teams met at ANZ Stadium, Sydney did get the better of them in the preliminary final. But before that, I think Collingwood won the last 7 at ANZ Stadium. So I'm going the Swans, but with not much confidence. I do think the Pies can get up, but I'm tipping Sydney by 22 points. How about yourself, Nick?
Well, I'm also going the Swans, but I'm actually pretty confident they'll do it this week. I think it'll be a close contest. It'll be a great contest, but I think Sydney by 12 points in the end. You know, they're one of the 3 big premiership fancies, and I don't think they'll let this one slip.
The next game on Saturday night is the Gold Coast Suns versus Melbourne. For the Gold Coast Suns, for the first time in their history, I believe, there is no change. We got a few milestones. David Swallow plays his 50th game, and the master, the best player in the competition and possibly of all time, Gary Ablett Jr. plays his 250th game of his marvellous career.
Good luck to Gary Ablett this week. He's always been one of my favourite players, and I was very sad to see him go from Geelong. He's doing a great job up at Gold Coast, and also good to see him during the week show a sign of loyalty to say he wants to stay at the Gold Coast. For the Melbourne Demons, in comes Geordie McKenzie and Troy Davis, and out goes Max Gawn and Jimmy Toumpas. Good luck to Troy Davis. It's his first game this week, so good luck to him.
It hasn't got blockbuster written all over it, has it, Nick? It's
Certainly doesn't.
But the Gold Coast Suns, they are playing some very good footy. I like what they're doing. Ever since their win against Collingwood, they've played some terrific footy, and I just think they might give the Demons a fair old touch up in this game. They met earlier in the year, and no one expected the Gold Coast Suns come out and give them a 10-goal smashing at the MCG. I think more people are expecting it this time around. So, not sure what to make of this game, mate. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, Melbourne were very disappointing last week against GWS. Obviously, GWS were pretty impressive, but likewise, Melbourne were very good. And I think it's alarm bells for Melbourne at the moment. They've only had 2 wins for the year, and last season coming up against Gold Coast, you might have tipped them, but this week I don't think they have any chance whatsoever. Gold Coast have been very impressive this year, and I think they'll get the job done quite comfortably this week.
Yeah, I have to lean your way as well, mate. I just think Melbourne, I don't know where they're at, to be honest. I honestly thought they'd come out and put in a better showing than what they did last weekend. I cannot see them winning this game at all. And for the Gold Coast Suns, I really liked the way they got around Nathan Bock after he kicked his first goal last week. He missed 15 months of footy, senior footy, that is. They got all around him, and that was great to see that the young kids got around one of their more experienced guys, and every game they play, they're looking more of a gelled team and playing as a team. And I think the Gold Coast Suns might get a very, very big win in this game. I'm thinking 64 points. I just think they'll take him to town, have a big win at home. And for the record, I think it might be their biggest win at Metricon Stadium.
I think it could be their biggest win in their history, actually. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what that is. But anyway,
I think it was against Melbourne earlier in the year. 60 points, I think it was. So,
well, off the bat, I'm tipping them by 50 points, but it could be much, much more. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. So Gold Coast by 50 points.
Moving on to the Sunday games now, and the 1 game is Essendon versus the West Coast Eagles. For the Bombers, I'm hoping for a better performance this week. In comes Tate Pears, Owen Davey, David Hill, Ben Howlett and Jason Winderlick. Out goes Corey Delalio, who's been omitted, and Courtney Dempsey with that hamstring. Unfortunately, he'll miss the rest of the home and away season. That might mean the rest of the season with the insider investigation, but we don't know, so we'll wait and see. And Brent Stanton plays his 200th game. He's one of the quickest players in the competition to get to that landmark, and his endurance in a game and everything like that is first class and underrated around the competition.
And for the West Coast Eagles, in comes Mark Lacrosse, Matt Prittis, Chris Maston and Paul McGinnity. All begins there, and out goes Carter, who's been rested.
Yeah, Nick, the Bombers, they haven't won a quarter in their last 2 weeks against Hawthorn and Collingwood. As we spoke about earlier, team meetings were sacrificed last week because of what was going on. The interim report arrived. David Evans left the club. It's a taxing time for the team, and I'm sure it's not going to be much better this week because of everyone's speculating that James Hird would stand down, and thankfully he hasn't at the moment. As we say that at 9:50 on a Thursday night. West Coast Eagles, they're still a side with a lot of talent in their side. Andrew Gaff, I'm a big fan of his. He's had a shocking year really, but he's a terrific player that can break a game open with his pace. Jack Darling's always a threat. Josh Kennedy leads the Coleman, so you got Dean Cox in there, Eric McKenzie, Darren Glass says he's in all Australian form, so it's not going to be an easy game.
Another one to mention is Mark Hutchings. He's had a great last month.
He has, yeah. He's picked up a lot of the ball, and he was initially on St Kilda's list before getting delisted. He came over to the Western Australia and played in the Waffle, and was lucky enough to get picked up by the West Coast Eagles earlier this year. The Bombers, I don't Is the Asada investigation getting to them? I don't know. Um, it's hard to see the Bombers getting back to the form they showed earlier this season. They might win a couple more games, but it's been such a long season for the team that I just don't think they're gonna be as good as what they were in the start of the year.
Having said that, do you think they can win this week?
I do, I do. I just want to make quick mention before I forget. Dustin Fletcher equals Simon Madden's 378 games at the club. It's a fantastic achievement, and hopefully, although I don't think he will, hopefully he goes on next year and might be able to reach that 400 landmark. I'm tipping the Bombers quite comfortably in this game. I just think the Eagles bringing in Lecra, Maston, and Pritis after injuries last week, they might be a little bit underdone, and with the amount of injuries the Eagles have already had, um, it might just be a little too much on the quick surface that Eddie had. Courtney Dempsey's going to be a big loss for the Bombers, but getting Jason Winderlick back and Alwyn Davey most likely coming into the side as well, adding a bit of pace on that big ground. I just think the Bombers are going to be too strong, I think by about 49 points.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm not tipping them quite as big of a margin, but I think they'll have control of the game for the most part of it. So Essendon by 31 points this week.
Our next game is the Adelaide Crows versus North Melbourne at Amy Stadium. It's going to be a ripping contest, this one. Either team can win. Adelaide, in comes Matthew Yench, Sam Shaw, Jason Porplesia, and Rory Sloane. Out goes Jared Lyons, who's been omitted.
And for North Melbourne, in comes Levi Greenwood, Will Sirikowski, Kieran Harper, and Taylor Gardner. And out goes Brad McKenzie. Taylor Gardner, it's his first game this week, so good luck to him.
Yeah, Taylor comes out from where I'm from, the Roval way. So I actually went to school with his brother at Cricket Victoria. So his brother's not a bad footballer either that plays at Roval. So he's going to be a terrific talent for the North Melbourne Footy Club, and he's going to come into this side hopefully not wearing the green vest. I'd like to see him get a full game. They were fantastic against your boys last week.
Unfortunately, they were. I was there on Friday night, and I was very disappointed with Geelong, and I was very impressed with North Melbourne. The last few times they've played us, they've just their spread across half back. It's like they've got eight extra players at all times. Not sure what it is about their game, but we just can't beat them.
Yeah, their run and spread was really good against you guys last week. I think in the absence of Andrew Swallow, we spoke about last week who's going to step up, and we mentioned the likes of Ben Cunnington and Jack Zeeble, and those two were the first two that came to mind after the win that had a real impact in the absence of Swallow. And Daniel Wells kicking 4 goals as well, and to think that he had a life-threatening injury a couple of years ago. He didn't have a pre-season. He's struggled to get through a pre-season. And the way he's playing his football now is just extraordinary. He kicked 4 goals, an equal career high last week, and he's had another fantastic year. The Adelaide Crows, they should have won last week, really. They let Port Adelaide back into the game, and they let one slip against their arch rival.
They certainly did. Might have been a bit of luck with Angus Monfrey's kick for goal, as we said earlier, but all the same, they did let it slip. North Melbourne, as I said, they were very good last week, and I think even though this is at Amy Stadium, I think North Melbourne should win this one and should win very well.
I agree, mate. Yeah, I think Amy Stadium's a very similar ground to Etihad Stadium in the way of size and stuff. So maybe it'd be a fraction wider, but yeah, I think I'll be tipping North in this game, but would not be surprised at all if Adelaide get over the line. I mean, Mitchell Grigg had a fantastic game last week in the showdown. I was really impressed by him. Lewis Johnston came into the side. He kicked 4 goals as well. Paddy Dangerfield, 4 goals from the midfield. He's going to be good for another game after an injury. Brent Harvey, he had 37 touches last week, and it took until halfway through the third quarter for Chris Scott to send Taylor Hunt to him, and unfortunately by that stage it was a bit late.
Where's your tip going this week?
I'm going North Melbourne. Not with much confidence, but I think they can get the job done over there. I'm tipping them in another close one by 14 points. How about yourself?
Well, I don't think this game will be close whatsoever, actually. I think Adelaide is out of the finals race now, and North Melbourne I just have a sniff, and they might be one of those teams trying to get themselves in ninth position just in case the worst happens for Essendon, I hate to say. So I'm going North Melbourne by 45 points this week. I think they'll tower them up nicely.
Our final game of the round is the Fremantle Football Club against the GWS Giants at Patterson Stadium. In for Fremantle comes Jesse Crichton, Gary Gibbonson, who was that late withdrawal last week. Hayden Crozier comes back in. Well done, Crows. And Matthew Pavlich, the skipper, is back in the side after serving his 3-game suspension. Clancy Pearce is out with a calf injury, and Chris Main, very underrated around the competition, I feel personally, plays his 100th game.
And for the mighty Greater Western Sydney Giants, who had a great win last week, in comes Daly, Tyson, Wilson and Downey. And out goes Dylan Shield, very surprisingly. He's been great of late. And Phil Davis plays his 50th game, so good luck to him.
Yeah, if Fremantle win the game they played against Carlton last week, this would get very, very ugly. I don't know if you remember, probably about a month ago, we spoke about Fremantle's game plan if it could win a premiership, and their attacking style was what they needed to improve. They were at some of the attacking best against Carlton last week. Hayden Ballantyne, Michael Walters were very, very good last week. The small forwards got the better of the Blues. And yeah, Nick Subin had a terrific game. And Matthew Pavlich coming into this side is just going to strengthen them even more.
And I think Fremantle have finally shaken that tag that they can't play in Melbourne. They beat Geelong there in a final last year. They beat Carlton there last week in Melbourne, and I don't think they're afraid of coming over into Victoria and winning games there. If they have an away final there this year, I think their opponent should be very, very worried about who they're playing.
Absolutely, and there was a little stat that I heard last week with Ross Lyon. He's a terrific coach and by far the coach of the year for mine. He has never lost a game at Etihad when leading at three-quarter time. And that's a phenomenal stat. And that's including his time at St Kilda. So that's phenomenal that he can bring that straight into the Fremantle side as well. And he's been fantastic since he's been at the club. For the GWS Giants, they were fantastic last week. Despite being against Melbourne, you still got to go out there and win and play your best footy. That's exactly what they did. I'm really liking the work of Adam Tomlinson at the moment. Jeremy Cameron just gets better with every game. I want to quickly touch on Tom Scully as well. He cops a lot of flack for the amount of money that he's getting paid by the GWS Giants. But his last probably 6 weeks or so, he's showing why the GWS Giants chased him, why he was the number one pick. He's giving that run. He's a terrific user of the football. Some people stupidly suggest that he's not, but he's a terrific user of the football, and his endurance is a real highlight of his game. He can run all day, and it would not surprise me throughout times of the year that he's run 18, 19 kilometres in a game because he just runs his ass off. Pardon my French. He runs his backside off every single day. That every single game that he plays, I'll get it out eventually. He's a terrific player, and he's starting to show why the GWS Giants chased him.
Do I need to ask who you're tipping this week, Josh?
No, you don't need to ask me. I think Fremantle by 79 points. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm going with Fremantle as well. I'm not sure what it is, but I think they won't quite put GWS away by quite that much this week. So I'm going Fremantle by 50 points, but still quite comfortable there.
Now that wraps up another show of Beyond the Boundary. It's been a ripping episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. Nick, thanks for joining me again, mate.
No problem. Pleasure as always.
Make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at JRickard1991 at Geisen as well. Make sure you like us on the Facebook page as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you send all your questions in. We're not getting very many at the moment, but we'll keep asking in the case that some come along. So, as I said, it's been a terrific episode. I hope your team wins on the weekend, unless you're West Coast. Hopefully the Bombers can get up. Nick, I hope your Cats can get up as well after their terrible loss last week.
That's the plan. And don't forget to tune in on Sunday night for the weekend wrap, where we'll go over all of the weekend's events, including the ladder and Common Medal. And of course, next week's podcast, where hopefully we'll finally get Paige Cardona on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a few problems the last couple of weeks. She hasn't been able to get on, and hopefully Matty can fix his internet because it's not working too well for him at the moment. But again, thanks for joining us, guys. It's been a ripping episode. We hope to see you next week. Go Bombers!
Thanks for watching. Go Cats!